You're live. You're on.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Good evening to those who are seated with us in the sanctuary, all masked appropriately and socially distancing, except for husbands and wives who are given special permission. Those of you at home, we welcome you as well to celebrate Shabbat. If you have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah, of the Siddur, we invite you to join with the readings and with singing along and the prayers and celebrate the Shabbat with us tonight. Beginning on page 10, of course, with our new understanding of what it means to be brothers and sisters, dwelling and singing and praying together in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. It's easy enough. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Again, good Shabbos and good evening and welcome. Our ritual continues as we light and bless our Shabbat candles. That will be followed by the Kiddush, sanctifying the Shabbat wine. Bobby, if you would join us here on the Bima. Rivka Bat, what did you say?
Rivka Malka.
Rivka Malka.
Bat Zvi HaKohen.
Bat Zvi HaKohen. Okay, the Fredo officially blessing the candles tonight. It's the fan.
There's just enough breeze. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, thank you.
Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrahei kodesh zihiyat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon Inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim, to help, good health for all. On page 9. Page 9, responsively, there are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure our failures by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. So we embrace the Shabbat as a day of rest, a day of wonder, and a day of peace. Together we offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memory, for Shabbat peace. We offer thanks and blessing. We greet the Shabbat as a bride, as a queen who comes into our midst, whether it's in the sanctuary or whether it's in our homes, which are miktashei me'at, which are small sanctuaries, especially when we gather together with a sense of community, a sense of holiness, and may it be a sense of Shabbat peace. So pages 20 and 21, L'chadodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabla. This is the melody of L'chadodi as it is sung in Kol Hanshama congregation in Jerusalem. Verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. L'chadodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 Panei Shabbat nekabla. L'chadodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 Panei Shabbat nekabla. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'l'tiferet v'l'tehila. L'chadodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabla. L'chadodi likrat kala, yalala, 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nehelcha, ki mikor haberacha, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. Verse 9. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, יללי, 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 בני שבת Nekabela. You may wish to remain standing as we continue. You don't have to, but you may wish to. Page 26. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, v'yalmad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'b'yomechon, Udchayecho Beit Yisrael, V'hagala, V'hagala, Uvizman Karim, V'meru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Le'olam Olol Me'ol Maya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, Vitalal, Shemeir Kudisha Barichu, Le'elam in Kol Birchata V'Shihirata, Tushbechata V'Nechemata, Dahamihiran B'Alma, V'Imeru, Amen. Baruchu et Adonai, HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Page 30. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, B'chokhma poteach sha'arim, U'bitvona meshana itim, U'machalif et hazmanim, U'mesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, Golel or mipnei choshech, Choshech mipnei or, Ma'avir yom u'mevi laila Adonai, U'mavdil bein yom u'vein laila Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, Tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, Ma'ariv, Aravim. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah, mitzvot, laws, and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Please never remove your love from us. Baruch Adonai Ohevamo Yisrael. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vahed. Continuing together, Hebrew on page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shachbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu. Responsibly, page 39, the bottom of the page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many, though our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Mihi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mihi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot oseh felen, nora tehilot oseh felen. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam ze'elianu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 42, continue together in English. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, shelter of peace, spread over us. Baruch atah Adonai, Hapores Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Hapores Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim Shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo ve'al Yerushalayim Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Hapores Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Page 44. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lahasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lahasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael od ki le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. The central part of our worship service, our tefillah, the Amidah, the Shemona Esrei, beginning on page 46. The ark will be open. We'll rise and join in the first several pages together, chanting together. 46, and the Hebrew side, 46, 48, 50, and 52. And then from pages 52 through page 62, I would invite you to continue silently, privately, either with the words traditionally as they are in the prayer book, or in the thoughts and meditations and silent prayers of your own hearts. And then we'll continue with our prayers as of the end of page 62. So on page 46, I invite you to rise. We'll join together. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Bimoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula B'nei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Sarah, Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar micha mocha ba'al gevurot umido melech melech mebit umechayem umatzmiach yesh v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai Mechaye HaKol. Ata Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kdoshim B'chol Yom Yihalalucha, Selah. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Continuing silently until page 62. Yiyu רצון, אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, וגואלי, וגואלי. My colleague, Rabbi Amy Shinerman in Virginia, has distributed this prayer that she composed, and she entitled it A Prayer for Patience. That's spelled with an C-E at the end, not T-S. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu. Our God and God of all generations of our people, we miss the lives we so recently lived. We miss the family and friends we cannot now sit beside. We miss the sanctuaries most of us cannot enter. We miss the freedom of coming and going on a whim for the sake of grandmothers and grandfathers, parents, children, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and neighbors. Eloheinu, dear God, help us be patient and not push for what may endanger others and ourselves. Patience is a glorious trait because it is selfless and generous and giving. Patience is loving and caring because it considers other needs and not only our own desires. And tonight, as we pray for patience, dear God, we can imagine you too praying for us to have patience, perhaps with these words: may my people whom I love, my children whom I care so deeply about, may they be safe and secure and protected. May no breath, nor hug, nor touch harm them, because those around them were unable to be patient. So bless us with patience on this Shabbat, O God, and in the week to come, so we can continue to protect one another, to protect ourselves and stay safe. Bless us with patience, dear God, so that we can continue to say each day, Baruch Atah Adonai, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. You have kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us this far. As a community and congregation, our tradition is to offer a Mishaberach prayer, Mishaberach LaCholim, a prayer of healing and wholeness for those of our loved ones, our friends, our neighbors, for those who are ill, those who are alone, those who are suffering, those who are hospitalized and facing or recovering from surgeries and procedures. They are in our thoughts and our prayers. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu, hu yivarech et hacholim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim aleihem, v'itein lahem refuah shelema min hashamayim, refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf, hashtaba agalal v'zman kariv v'nomar amen. We pray that the one who blessed our ancestors will send a sense of healing and wholeness and peace, of refuah and shalemut. To these members of our community, our friends, and our families, Chris Anderson, Avram Yekosiel Ben Gittel, Harvey Beam, Irene Case, Marty Cohn, Sebastian Del Luperto, Alan Delman, Heidi Demarest, Jerry Gale Feldman, Melissa Feldman, Nancy Feldman, Bob Fleming, Lori Fly, Terry Freed, Jeffrey Saul Gervan, Ruth Gossman, Kay Grask, Teresa Halloran, Larry Hoffman Rosenfeld, Dawn Kitts, Dan Leach, Sharon Laws, Billy Lawson and Werner Lawson, Dory Lessa, Wendy Levy, Sam Miller, Tim Orrock, Bernie Pincus, Marley Pincus, Roberta Rabin, Eric Rothenberg, Dory Roman and Mel Roman and Barbara Roswell, Abraham Raphael Ben Shoshana, Nancy Schwam, Lou Simon, Linda Smith, and Ruth Stevens. Among those who are here in the sanctuary, are there other names anyone would wish to mention publicly? And to those at home and all those who are in need of our prayers, we ask that God will send a sense of blessing, of health, healing, and peace. Page 200, the middle of page 253. This is Debbie Friedman's interpretation of the traditional prayer. Mi sheberach Avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And on page 261, in case anyone didn't know, it is summertime. For those who may be joining us from other parts of the country besides Arizona, our average temperature daytime this week was probably 106, something like that. So it is summertime, and the new month of Av, which occurs in the middle of the summer, on the one hand, there are many observances and commemorations to which we turn our attention in the month of Av, as we have in the 10 days previous, but also the hidden message, or the not so subtle message, is that as we begin Av, means that we're only 2 months from the High Holy Days. Okay, Ruth Ann, we have work to do, right? Okay. But on page 261 is the prayer for the new month of Av, which will begin on Monday evening and into the day on Tuesday. I'm sorry, Tuesday evening into the day on Wednesday. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, שתחדש עלינו את החודש הבא לטובה ולברכה, ותיתן לנו חיים ארוכים, חיים של שלום, חיים של פרנסה, חיים שתהא בנו אהבת תורה ויראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה ונאמר אמן. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity. May our lives be exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good, and in light of Rabbi Scheinerman's reading, in light of patience for our lives this summer as well. Rosh Chodesh Av, Yehiyeh B'Yom Revi'i Haba. The new month of Av will begin on Tuesday evening and into Wednesday of the coming week. Excuse me. They say that the Shabbat is supposed to be approached and appreciated as what we say in Yiddish as a Vorspeis, as a little taste of the Olam Haba, of the world to come. Well, I'm not predicting the coming of the Mashiach, of the Messiah, in the coming week or the coming month necessarily, certainly not predicting. But following in that tradition of seeing tonight as a Vorspeis, as a little bit of a foretaste of what is to come. Some of you have been on the journey with me over the last several weeks and months of looking at various collections of Jewish literature, beginning with Torah and the commentaries, and then continuing on through an introduction to Mishnah and Talmud and Midrash. This week we were looking at the codes. The next several weeks we'll be looking at contemporary, classical as well as contemporary responsa. But I try to instill in everyone's mind a little bit of excitement and curiosity about the collection of rabbinic literature known as Midrash. Midrash, many people would translate as legend and lore, but it's also filling in the blanks. There are many opportunities. Most of you know there are many opportunities. There are many cases in the Torah and in the rest of the Tanakh, the rest of the Bible, where we just don't know all the details. And whether it's a classic commentator or whether it's someone modern, like, of course, the famous Rabbi Cecil B. DeMille in his cinematic interpretation of the Ten Commandments, more in our generation's Rabbi Steven Spielberg, who incidentally was babysat by future rabbis in their time in rabbinic school. So he was given a little bit of an introduction when he was a kid, Steven Spielberg, and there are others who shall remain nameless. But this is a shameless plug. In the month of August, I've been invited to teach a class through Temple Emmanuel in Tucson and their online adult education program. There'll be information that will be coming out to the Beth Shalom Temple Center people as well. And you're all welcome to sign up for the class, 4 sessions on what we call modern Midrash, which is not just the Cecil B. DeMille kind of interpretation, but from scholars and from contemporary voices that try to encourage us to put ourselves in the biblical condition and in the biblical situation. What would we have said when either God or our brother or our sister, our parent or Moses or whomever addressed us with a particular question or issue or experience, and how would we react, and how does that compare to the experiences that we have in the 20th and 21st centuries? One of the sources that I'm going to be referring to in that class, and I thought I would just read it to you tonight verbatim. I admit this is not my midrash. This is a midrash from Rabbi Mark Gelman. He was a practicing rabbi on Long Island, and some of you might remember, you might have tuned in. Mark Gelman, and I'm blanking on the Cardinals' name, but they were on ABC television weekly as the God Squad, right? Okay. So Mark Gelman also has a collection of a number of small books. Some of them are very juvenile. They're written as children's stories, but others are a little more adult, a little more sophisticated, in an attempt to, as I mentioned, fill in the blanks and allow us to really understand what might have been happening, especially if we put it into a contemporary idiom. So I have to give you a little bit of background before I start reading Rabbi Gelman's Midrash. The Torah portion for this Shabbat is actually a double portion, Matot Maseh, and it marks the end of book number 4 in the Torah, which is Bamidbar in Hebrew, or Numbers in English. The children of Israel are near the end of their 40 years of wandering. They're anticipating now, this is a new generation, not the people who were in Egypt, with one or two exceptions. Joshua, Caleb will continue and cross the river. Moses will not. In last week's portion, some of you will remember, God had Moses appoint Joshua as his successor, and there was a ceremony of transmitting the authority, Ruach Chochmah. That's the ceremony that we now call Smicha, of ordaining one who will follow in your footsteps. Moses now knows he is about to die. He is preparing for what at least the rabbis saw, the entire book of Devarim, the entire book of Deuteronomy, that's going to take us now through these remaining 2 months plus 1 or 2 weeks until we finish the Torah cycle. But this is Moses' farewell address. You think that the contemporary rabbi's sermons are too long? Moses spoke for more than a month. All right? So that was his concluding sermon, farewell sermon, reminding the people of all the places that they had stopped along the 40 years. It was almost like someone was keeping a diary. And dear diary, my teacher, Larry Hoffman, has an article about this, that Moses says, dear diary, this is what we did at such and such a place. And so in case I'm not around to tell them, they can read my diary and see what happened in each of these places. All right, so we're now at the point where God is ready to tell Moses, okay, you're going to ascend the mountain, you're going to bid goodbye to everyone, you can take a look at the promised land, but you will not cross over the river, etc., etc., etc. So there's a lot that's left out in that story. What did God say to Moses? What did Moses say to God? What did Moses say to all the rest of the people? How did he bid goodbye, etc., etc. So I want to share with you Mark Gelman's midrash about these Torah portions that we would be reading this week. All right. This is, if you will, like an excerpt from Moses' diary. Getting out of Egypt was mostly about running away. Getting out of Egypt was also about finding things to eat, water to drink, watching out for scorpions, snakes, rats, and crawly things, and bats and eagles and wolves and things that make woo-woo sounds like wolves, but were not really wolves. Nobody wanted to find out what they really were because it was nighttime, and when you hear something at night, you just don't care what it is, just as long as it stays away from you. Anyway, I'm digressing. Getting out of Egypt was mostly about running away, but getting into Israel was mostly about fighting. You could get out of Egypt by running away from anybody who was chasing you, but you could not get into the land of Israel without fighting against the people who were trying to keep you out. The people who were already living in the land the Jebusites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, all those ites did not want to let the children of Israel, the Israelites, get into their land. And so they fought against them very hard. This is why God gave two very different leaders to the Jewish people, Joshua and Moses. Joshua, it seems, was good at running away. Moses was good at fighting. This was why everybody followed Moses, but everybody loved Joshua. If Moses had not picked Joshua to be the leader after him, the people would have picked Joshua for sure. Moses was strong and brave, but Joshua was patient and kind. Moses was mean and stubborn. Joshua was funny and cooperative. Joshua was great at getting people to live together and work together, not fight with each other when they were running away, but Moses was very good at getting the people to join together and fight when they had to fight. People loved Joshua, but they would walk through fire for Moses. Most of the time, Moses and Joshua got along pretty well, even though they were very different. Mostly they helped each other because getting the children of Israel out of Egypt and into the land of Israel was a big job and needed both of them. When Moses got too stubborn, Joshua would tell him to loosen up, and Moses would listen to Joshua. But when Joshua got too emotional, Moses would tell him to get a grip on it, and Joshua would listen to Moses. And then came the last battle that Moses fought with the children of Israel, the battle with the Midianites. That's actually in the Torah portion we read this Shabbat. Before this battle, Joshua and Moses had a huge fight. It all happened because of what Moses told the soldiers just before the battle. The children of Israel had come to the land of Midian, which was just to the east of the Jordan River. There were 5 kings of Midian. These 5 kings all refused to let the children of Israel cross over their land to get to the land of Israel. Moses said, "We're going to cross over your land. It's 1,000 miles to walk around. There's no reason for us to walk that far. I promise, we'll be neat. We'll pick up all of our garbage. We won't write anything on any walls or bathrooms." But the kings of Midian, all 5 of them, said in one voice, "No way." And Moses said, "Yes way." And then they swore at each other a lot. Moses stormed off in a huff and called his army leaders together and told them, "We're going to beat those guys into a pulp." You see why this is not Torah exactly, right? "I want you to kill all 5 of those stupid kings. I want you to kill all their soldiers. I want you to take all their women and children, and I want you to kill all the women who are married." And just then Joshua stepped in. He grabbed Moses by the collar, threw him to the ground, and stood over him and screamed, "What are you, nuts? Going into a place and stealing sheep and cows and donkeys is bad. Killing kings is worse. Killing innocent women is the worst sin of all. You're becoming just like that Pharaoh, Moses. You've become a monster. God would never command you to do this. This is all your own twisted, sick idea, and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. Get a grip on yourself, Moses. God didn't bring us all this way to do to other people exactly what the Egyptians did to us." Moses stood up, dusted himself off. The people were amazed, didn't really know what to do. Moses said, "Joshua will not be leading our armies into battle. Pinchas will take his place as the commander of our troops." And Joshua just stomped off towards his tent. Pinchas, you might remember, was one who had used his passion, his zeal, to demonstrate that he thought he should be a leader of the people. Moses came to Joshua's tent and found him alone, found him crying. Moses sat down next to Joshua and put his arm around him and said, "My friend, we are done running away. This is the time to enter the land that God has given to us as a homeland. We don't have a homeland yet. All we have is the desert and God. And that's frankly not enough. We need a place to settle down. And this is the problem. Every land everywhere has someone else living on it. All God wants is for the people to let us live with them and let us follow God in our own way. And Joshua, that just is not going to happen by making nice and talking nice and being funny and kind. You don't get a homeland that way. You get a homeland by fighting anybody and everybody who wants to take it away from you. You want to be nice? Good. I really don't care about nice. I only care about getting the people into the home where we're supposed to be. You're a wonderful person, Joshua, but you're too soft. And Moses got up and left Joshua's tent. Joshua had not said a word, but he had listened to everything that Moses said. And after the battle, all the kings of Midian were killed, and the sheep and the cows and the donkeys were taken, and the women were killed. And after that battle, there was more killing, until all the children of Israel got into all the land of Israel, everyone except Moses. For God said to Moses after the battle, "You can't go into the land with those people." Moses asked God, "Why?" God answered, "You were too cruel. What you did to the Midianites, I didn't command you to do. Like that time at Meribah, when the people were thirsty, I told you to speak to a rock and it would give water, but no, you had to hit the rock. I wanted you to learn that I always want talking to come before hitting. Maybe that way the talking can stop the hitting." And Moses said, what if the talking does not stop it? What if you need to fight for your land and your family and your sheep and your donkeys? After a time, God answered, "Well, then at least you tried by talking. At least you tried to make things work without hitting. Trying is what matters. Everything else is not your business." But Moses cried out, "But Joshua is too soft to be the leader." And God then spoke in a whisper, "And you are too hard to be the leader anymore." Moses, a soft man can be hardened just enough to win the war, but a hard man cannot be softened enough to make peace. Then Joshua took the people into the land of milk and honey. And whenever Joshua met another leader, he always sent milk and honey ahead of him as a gift of peacefulness. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it did not. And then even Joshua had to fight. And as for Moses, God let him see Joshua and the people enter the land because he was high on a rock on Mount Nebo. And when every last person and sheep and cow and donkey was safe in the land of Israel, God kissed Moses on his lips and took him then and taught him everything about being soft and everything that would let him feel that he was now at home. That's Mark Gelman's interpretation in Midrash, extended as it is, about this week's double Torah portion and about a lesson that still resonates with us even in the land of Israel with her neighbors today. We'll continue on page 282. Aleinu is at the bottom of page 282. The ark will be open. I invite you to rise as we chant together. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 284. שהוא נוטה שמיים בארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשיבות אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan, yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all do reveal a divine purpose. The God who is our support in the struggles of life is also our hope in death. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid, we have set God before us, we shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts, fill our hearts and our spirits with abiding trust in you. As a community, we think of loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, even during these past 11 months. We honor the memories of Ralph Block, Sarah Deitch, Michelle Kohana, Janelle Mitchell, Jim Mardinley, Lanny Rutenberg, Bud Stein, Ted Walden, Yetta Weston, Alan Winfield, and Loretta Ziegelman. We remember those who died at this season in years past. We draw them into our hearts, especially on this, the week of the anniversary of their passing, their yahrzeit. As a community, we honor the memories of Bertha Boxer, of Robert Broody, Pearl Gervan, Morris Klein, Eva Sharkey, Hillary Silver, Andrew Vishner, Annette Wallach, Josephine Weiner, Louis Wolfsiniker, and Sylvia Woolman. Are there other names anyone would wish to add, please?
Lucy Silver and Harry Silver.
Livracha, may their memories truly be for a blessing. The words of the Kaddish prayer, Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, are on page 294. We rise and join together in words hallowed by centuries of faith, sanctifying God's name. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma di'rutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lomei Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh V'itadar, v'itale, v'talal, shmeid kudsha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yalma v'imru amen, Yehi Shlomo Rava min Shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. O se shalom min Ramav, huya se shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol b'nei Adam v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring comfort to those who are bereaved amongst us, and may God, in answer to our prayers, bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity, to which we say, Amen. And please be seated. Thanks to those who have participated in our worship here in the sanctuary. And again, a Shabbat Shalom to all who are joining us from home. In addition to the plug that I was mentioning about this modern Midrash class that I'll be teaching in the month of August, we have Torah study tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
We have
Next Friday night.
next Thursday morning, we have the continuation of Jews in the
I was doing
Civil War.
Shabbat first, but that's okay. All right.
Well, first we have movie. We have to finish our movie.
Well, okay. Well, we can do, sure, whatever. Go ahead. I'm not taking your thunder. Go ahead.
You can take my thunder, I don't care. Let's see, tomorrow's Torah studies. Wednesday is a woman called Golda, part 2. Thursday morning, Steve Marin's going to lead us in continuation of Jews in the Civil War.
Right. Thursday afternoon, we'll begin our study of responsa literature.
And then Friday, we have a service, a Friday night service led by the Friedman brothers.
Gary and Lenny Friedman will be leading services.
And then we come back to Torah studies.
And then Torah study again on Saturday morning. Again, anything else that anyone wishes to add? And with the assistance of the guitar, Nurit Hirsch's prayer for peace, the words with which we concluded our Kaddish, Oseh Shalom Ramav, Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Oseh Shalom Bimramav, Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.